Most people are taught that loving money is evil, that wanting wealth makes you greedy, and that the holy thing to do is just be content. Yet somehow, the people who quote the Bible the loudest often stay broke, while others quietly use money laws to build real wealth. What if the problem is not the Bible, but the verses that were never emphasized to you? The forbidden money rules that teach strategy, not superstition. Stay with this video, because you are about to see 7 Bible money laws that line up almost perfectly with how the rich think, invest, and build assets in the real world today. In this video, you'll discover 7 specific principles from Scripture that speak directly about ownership, debt, investing, and mindset, and you'll see how each law shows up in modern money, from credit cards and mortgages to side hustles and investing. By the end, you will have a simple checklist you can start applying this week, even if your income is small, your job feels stuck, or you have already made financial mistakes. If you grew up in church or in a religious home, you probably heard more sermons about the love of money than about building assets, managing debt, or using wisdom to multiply what you have. Verses about contentment, greed, or judgment were shouted. Verses about stewardship, planning, and investing were whispered or ignored. But the Bible talks about money, possessions, and wealth thousands of times, more than it talks about heaven and hell combined. When you read it with open eyes, a pattern appears. God cares less about you being poor or rich and more about how you handle whatever flows through your hand. The first money law is simple. You are not just a consumer. You are a steward and manager. In biblical teaching, everything ultimately belongs to God, but that does not make you a victim. It makes you a trusted manager who will be judged by how you handle resources. Rich people think like stewards and own. RS. They ask, how can I make this money work? Not, who will save me? When you shift from I'm broke, help me to I am responsible for every naira, dollar, or shilling that touches my hand, your decisions change. You track your spending. You tell your money where to go, and you stop waiting for miracles while wasting what you already ate. Ave. The second Bible money law is brutally direct. The borrower is servant to the lender. In ancient times, that often meant selling yourself or your family into servitude until the obligation was repaid. Today, chains look different. Credit cards, payday loans, car notes, and lifestyle mortgages that own your future before you've earned it. Rich people do everything they can to avoid bad debt on things that do not grow, clothes, gadgets, status cars, because they understand that every monthly payment is a tiny piece of their freedom sold. They may use smart, controlled debt for assets, businesses, real estate, investments, but almost never for pure consumption. The Bible's warning about debt is not just spiritual. It is a practical wealth principle. The more you owe, the less you own. One of the clearest money stories in Scripture is Joseph interpreting Pharaoh's dream. 7 years of abundance followed by 7 years of famine. Joseph's advice was simple. While everyone is celebrating and spending, store a portion of the harvest every single year, so the nation survives when the crisis hits. That is long-term budgeting and emergency planning. Rich people follow this law by building emergency funds, cash reserves, and long-term investments when times are good, instead of upgrading every part of their lifestyle. Most people do the opposite. When income increases, expenses explode. The Joseph principle says, at least a fixed percentage of every income rise should go into savings and investments, not lifestyle. In the parable of the talents, a master gives 3 servants different sums of money to manage. 2 take risks, trade, and multiply the amount. 1 buries the money in the ground because of fear. When the master returns, he rewards the investors and harshly rebukes the one who kept the money safe but unproductive. Rich people intuitively obey this law. Money should be put to work, not just hoarded in a savings account forever. That may mean starting a small business, buying productive assets, or investing in skills that increase your earning power. The forbidden angle is this. Many were taught that seeking multiplication is greedy, when in fact the story praises the servants who multiply and criticizes the one who is paralyzed by fear. Another repeated theme is that bad company corrupts good habits, and that walking with the wise makes you wise. In money terms, the people around you shape your spending, your risk tolerance, your view of debt, and your belief about what is possible. Wealthy individuals deliberately build relationships with people who think bigger, manage money well, and live by principles, not chaos. They invest in mentors, networks, and communities that stretch them. The Bible's focus on wise counsel is a direct money law. The quality of your financial circle determines the ceiling of your financial life. The Bible ties generosity and blessing together over and over. Sowing and reaping, giving and receiving, open hands versus closed fists. This is not a vending machine formula or manipulation tactic. It is a principle flow. When you are channeled, more is trusted to you. When you hoard, you eventually choke your own supply. Many wealthy people, even outside of faith, practice structured giving, tithes, charity, foundations, not only for tax reasons, but because they see generosity as part of their identity. The forbidden side here is that some were only taught giving as a way to buy miracles, not as a disciplined lifestyle that keeps the heart healthy and trains you to detach your identity from your bank account. The final law is the one people heard most, but often misunderstood. Loving money above everything else destroys you. Scripture warns against covetousness, envy, and building your whole life on possessions that can disappear overnight. Practically, this means you do not chase wealth to prove your worth. You do not copy lifestyles you cannot afford, and you do not sacrifice your health, relationships, or integrity just to add another zero. Rich people who stay stable long-term treat money as a tool, not a god. They build systems, protect their peace, and understand that contentment plus growth is the real target. Here is how to begin living these 7 laws in the next 30 days. First, track every expense and list all your debts. Stop taking new consumer debt immediately. Next, build a mini emergency fund and decide a fixed percentage you will save or invest from every income. Then choose one small talent to multiply, skills, side hustle, or small investment, and set a clear goal for the next 90 days. Finally, design a simple giving plan and intentionally upgrade your financial circle. Remove one toxic influence and add one wise one. These are the 7 forbidden Bible money laws the rich quietly obey. Laws about stewardship, debt, planning, multiplication, relationships, generosity, and guarding your heart. If you want a deeper dive into how ancient kings and modern millionaires used these same principles to build generational wealth, watch the next video about African kings and money secrets. It may change how you see both history and your own bank account.